Hi there, everyone. Welcome to episode 131 of the Mike Fermain Show, the place where we do daily interviews with successful online entrepreneurs. This is your host, Mike Thomas, and today on the show I have Tim Sykes on. And he's not necessarily in the whole internet marketing niche that we usually talk about, but he does penny stock trading online. And it was really interesting for me because I had watched an interview with him on Mixergy, and I'd also had a friend of mine suggest that I interview him for my show. So I said, "Hey, why not? Let's check him out." And I'd actually never heard of his website before, so I checked him out. And it's one of those things where he's taken $12,000 and he turned it into over $1 million, and he does all these penny stock trading, and he records everything that he does, every trade that he makes, every day that he trades. He has it public, and that's what I really like about it, because it seems like one of those, it seems like a scammy internet marketing thing, like one of the ones that I try to keep you guys all away from. And just with his complete transparency about everything that he does, I just had to get into it. I had to learn what he's doing, how he's doing it, and to be honest with you, he's got the internet marketing scammy kind of approach and techniques, but the information that he's giving and what he's actually the meat of what he has really seems to be something that's real. So and we kind of talk about that a little bit in the interview, how he's kind of taken the scammy side of things, and he used that because people respond to it. He shows pictures of himself with beautiful girls and Lamborghinis because no one wants to see what most internet marketers are driving around in normal cars and have normal wives and normal houses. But when you put up these images and you create this dream, it seems like it's more of something that is, I don't know, unattainable or just like that get rich quick, but it's actually happening. Anyways, I'll stop rambling on here, but let's get right into it with Timothy Sykes. We are here today with Tim Sykes. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
Tim, let's get right into it. You've got a great story, and I've only really touched on a tip of it. Why don't you enlighten me and my audience on who you are and your story?
Yeah, so I'm I don't know how to say it concisely, but I'm a self-made multimillionaire who teaches others how to be millionaires too. I started with my bar mitzvah gift money of $12,415. My parents gave it to me, thinking that I would lose it all in high school. They were like, "Yeah, manage it, take control of it." And instead, I turned that 12,000 into over 1.6 million before I graduated college. I started a hedge fund my senior year of college. Not the brightest thing to do when you're a cocky 23-year-old who's never really had a big loss. And I was the number one ranked short bias hedge fund manager for 3 years, but it was never really going anywhere. I couldn't really grow it. It only got to like 3.5 million in assets. So I invested in a family friend's business, which was print at home ticketing, because I thought that had the future. Mm-hmm. I was right about the technology. Wrong about the company, and I lost basically 35% of my hedge fund with that one pick. I went way too big, trusted way too much, saw stars in my eyes. They won contracts with Expedia, AOL. Big mistake. Lost all my credibility, even though I only lost 35% of my money. But to get my credibility back, in 2007, I went back to my roots of $12,000, and I said, you know what? The internet is the next big thing. Let me show people how to grow it step by step, trade by trade. You can see everything on my website, timothysykes.com, trade for trade. And I turned that 12,000 into over $250,000 in 3 years. Just using a simple brokerage account, showing every trade. And using that business model, I give real-time alerts, watch lists, video lessons, webinars, seminars, and there's an active chat room on my website. And now I've started to manage other traders who want to show their profitable strategy on this website I created called Profitly, and also a website called Investimonials, which is like a TripAdvisor that cuts through the bullshit in the finance industry. And you can leave reviews on newsletters, brokers, people like Jim Cramer. So I'm really trying to stay profitable, which I have been for, aside from the one bad investment, my trading strategy works. So now I'm focused on teaching others, and I have about 2,700 students in over 60 countries. And I'm proud to say already in March 2013, I'm up about 75,000 in trading profits, which is decent for 3 months. But I have over a dozen students who are up over 50,000 already. So I'm getting to be a better teacher than I am trader, which is what I want to do.
Okay. Now, let's go back a little bit. And from what I understand, what you do is you trade. Is it penny stocks or low valued stocks online? Is that how you're making your money?
Yeah, I mean, stocks trading under $5 a share, there's not a lot of information out there because Wall Street looks down on them. They're like the gutter stocks. And that's what I've always made money on because they're easier, because you don't have big hedge funds, you don't have rich people trading it. It's mostly idiots who think that they're lotto tickets. So when you have a big group of idiots thinking one thing, and it's all based on misinformation by promoters who send out emails, they used to send out faxes, now it's Twitter and Facebook spam, and sometimes even telemarketing phone calls, there's an inefficiency. So people are buying these pieces of shit companies based on misinformation. And I think that usually the misinformation gets corrected very quickly within a few days or a few weeks. And I'm pretty much always been right. It's just a timing thing. Sometimes these pumps last a few days or weeks longer. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Boiler Room.
I haven't seen it. I'll have to put it on my list.
It's a new movie coming out in November called Wolf of Wall Street with Leonardo DiCaprio, Scorsese, and it's about the guy who created boiler rooms. And they pump up bullshit because they have big positions and they sell it. So it's a pump and dump. So I take advantage of these pump and dumps, and I teach people how to spot them, how to stay away from them, and how to profit from them when you short sell them or bet against them because they're inevitably going to collapse.
One thing that I would worry about, like, I'm all about taking risk, and I know that every time that you take a risk, there's a possibility that you're going to lose money, and there's a possibility that you're going to make money. And I would be worried about going in there and being like, okay, I'm going to trade penny stocks, I'm going to do everything that you tell me to do, and then I'm going to lose everything. Like, what makes your course? What makes your advice? And what makes you able to do it over other people that obviously fail?
Yeah, I mean, it's just about learning rules and refining your strategy. I mean, I had losses, substantial losses when I first started. Nothing like the 35% with the investment, but like 5-10% of my portfolio. I mean, that's a lot. That's a big thing to take. So I've refined my rules over 14 years of trading. Number one rule is to cut losses quickly. I'm wrong 28% of the time. But I cut my losses because when a stock isn't doing exactly what I want, I get out because penny stocks can be volatile. And, this is the number one fear that people get. Like, penny stocks, they sound so dangerous. I mean, you have to sign special waivers on with brokers because they're manipulated. Sometimes they don't trade a lot. So there are risks. I mean, life is a risk. I mean, what if you're driving? You could get hit by another car anytime. Sure. What prevention measures do you have? You have an airbag. You can drive better. But with mine, I mean, you have specific rules. It's in your hands. Like my finger is always on the trigger finger, like the button. If the stock doesn't do what I want, sometimes, I mean, you'll see if you look around on the internet. I mean, a lot of people say like I'm such a coward. I trade like a little bitch, and yeah, I have a whole DVD where I say I trade like a castrated choir boy, and I talk like this because this is how a castrated choir boy talks. That's how I trade, and I've made $3 million. You show every trade. If I had traded more aggressively, could it have been 5 or 10 million? Probably, but I do it in a conservative way. So even though I'm trading penny stocks, I'm very conservative, which is kind of, I think, greatly due, my success is owed to that.
Are you a numbers guy?
I kind of suck at math. It's a different kind of math. It's like, I get this question. I don't know how to answer it. I mean, it's like, I'm trading scams. I'm trading outright scams. If you look at the red flags and the people behind these things, it's not a question of if it'll fail, it's when. Mm-hmm. So it's trying to figure out your risk reward. Like if you enter a stock one day betting against it, it might not crash that day or the next day or the next day, but usually within like 5 days. So it's like a sliding scale. I took an economics class. There's a thing like this. What is this, the Laffer curve or something?
You're asking the wrong guy. I was an English major. I was a literature major.
I don't know. I haven't said that term in like 10 years, but
I never took statistics. I avoided all of that when I went to university, and I avoided all of that. So
I mean, it's basically just a mountain, and you're trying to get as close to the top as possible when you're betting on the downside, because it happens very quickly. When the scam goes collapse, it means the insiders have dumped all their stock and there's no more telemarketing calls. If you watch, for example, GNIN right now is a blatant pump, and it's been pumped up from 40 cents up to $1.50 the past few days. Right now it's at like $1.20, $1.30. Over the next week or two, it's going to go down from $1.20 back down to like 50 cents or maybe even lower, because there's no more promotion. The insiders have sold everything. So that's what I'm trying to predict and trying to get others to be ready for.
So what's your day going to be like today? Right now we're talking, it's 9 a.m. for you, and what are you going to do? Are you going to be at your computer all day, or are you going to be focusing more on your student aspect or your trading aspect? Or are you going out and living your crazy life? I've seen pictures of you with Lamborghinis and hot chicks and stuff. Like, what are you going to do today? What's your day like?
Well, today's Good Friday, so the market's closed, which is kind of cool.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
But no, it's kind of a crazy day. I'm actually looking for an assistant. Maybe you can help me find one. I spend time trading. Trading is number one because I'm giving real-time commentary to my students. I'm giving trade alerts. I'm writing watch lists and doing video lessons. Sometimes I do live trading seminars and webinars online. But then, if there's no trades, like, it's really weird. There are stock traders who trade every day. They're trading Google, Apple, Amazon. They always have to be up by their computer. They're slaves. With me, I'm waiting for the next big, opportunity, the next big scam, for lack of a better term. So some days, like some weeks, I'm working every single day when there's a pump and play, like this GNIN. If you look at the chart, I mean, it's been up and down for, a month straight, and it's been great. I've made like 20,000, but I've made a lot of video lessons showing people when it's going to rise, when it's going to drop based on promotion. But around that, the market closes at 4 p.m., and I am kind of wealthy, and I do live in Miami Beach,
Sure.
And it's fun. So I take pictures of my Lambo. I had 3 girls staying here the other day, so I was trying to fit 3 girls. Lamborghini's only a 2-seater, so like I have some funny videos and photos.
I feel
like
so bad for you. Feel so bad. These are first world rich male problems, aren't they?
I get this a lot, and it's tough, but somebody has to do it.
I can see I can feel my audience right now listening and going, okay, this guy, he's doing well. He makes a lot of money selling courses now. Like I imagine a lot of your money comes from teaching people how to do this, which is true with a lot of these things. If you can learn how to do something online and then you can teach it, most people make a lot more money actually teaching it than they do doing the actual thing. How have you dealt with the people that have hated on you, the people that have come and said, you're scamming us, this isn't true, you're a liar? How have you dealt with that?
I deal with them very immaturely. It's entertainment for me because I show every trade. I show my students trades. You can see how I took 12,000 and turned it into 3 million. This is why I created the website Profitly, to show every single trade. You can now see my students documented $7 million. When I first started teaching, people said that it was illegal to short sell penny stocks. There was a website, Investopedia. It got bought out for $40 million. Big website, said my strategy is illegal. So to this day, I get emails saying what I do, I'm a criminal. It's not illegal. It's just that most brokers don't want to deal with penny stocks, so they lie to their customers. Instead of admitting that they don't have the capability, they just say, oh, it's illegal. And people think that I'm the enemy. So there's a lot of hate from that. Then there's my marketing with the Lamborghini. I always used to just post research reports and hardcore like exposés. And I would get a few people, a few dedicated like psychopaths as students because they wanted justice in the world. But there's a much greater market for people who want Lamborghinis. I've learned that I want the best students, the most dedicated students. That's my number one problem, finding dedicated students. So to find that, I post pictures of my car, my $5 million mansion, because that inspires people. Because I get emails now, instead of just people like exposing stuff, people who want that mansion, who want that Lamborghini, who want that life. So my whole life is geared towards finding those people. And if I have to offend a lot of people along the way, so be it. I get in Twitter battles, Facebook battles. I don't care because when you're teaching something that's real, I can be as controversial as anybody. But when the next scam comes along and I expose it, even my haters come around. My chat moderator, for example, Michael Good, he's now made $800,000 about, I think he says $350,000 with my strategy. And the way that I found him, he wrote a post called Timothy Sykes is full of shit. Or full of bullshit, because that was the name of my press. My publishing company was called Bullshit Press when I first started. I wanted to cut through the bullshit. And he was like, this millionaire claims he's going to turn other millionaires. Like, this is bullshit. You can't do this. And then I was like, well, here are my DVDs. Let me show you. And this is why I teach. I wrote a post why I teach, because my strategy is not scalable. Like, I can't make millions or tens of millions on a scam because I'm exposing it. There's not enough shares to short. So I can make a few thousand every time. A few thousand, a few thousand, a few thousand. And what I did was kind of look at that and say, okay, every few days, every few weeks, I'm going to make a few $1,000s. That sounds like something that other people would want to learn, that skill. So I can make millions teaching other people how to make thousands. And I've been right. I still trade. I'm number one on Covestor for the past 5 years, which verifies returns. I make like 200, 300,000 a year with my strategy. And it's, if I focus purely on it, I could probably make like 400 or 500,000. But now I'm teaching more. The point is that it's a solid 6-figure income per year.
Sure.
And now I make, roughly $5 million from teaching. So it's like 12 to 1 teaching versus trading profits. So all I've done is found a scalable way to make more money and teach more people my strategy.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people listening right now that would be super pumped if they were making an extra $500, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 a month following your strategy. And so my question for you now would be, if I was to come to you, Tim, and say, okay, I want you to teach me how to do this program. I want you to teach me, how can I do this? How would I get set up? How would I do this?
Well, so we launched a new website called pennystockconspiracy.com, where you're going to get my alerts, my watch list, and we also give away my book, and there's old webinars, like with the basics. So it's an all-in-one package, and it's cheap, and it's specifically designed to get people to study. So I would go to pennystockconspiracy.com. That's my main new project, because again, it's in finding dedicated students, but then also teaching them the basics. I mean, once you learn the basics, it's rinse and repeat. It's a strategy. Yes, it seems overwhelming at first because like there are people that are like, oh, I don't know, stock market, oh, penny stocks, oh, it's trading scams. Like it just sounds weird.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be like, oh, I want to be a penny stock day trader when I grew up. When I was like in a little kid class, I was like, I want to be a penny stock day trader. No, that's not what you want to be. But people want to make the money, then you learn a craft. That's what this is. It's not an exact science. Even though these things are scams, it's about timing and understanding indicators and risk and reward and setting goals and being very meticulous with your trading account. Too many people kind of just throw some money in an account like the way that my parents thought that I would and just like start gambling left and right. And 90% of traders lose money. It's a staggering statistic, but we've seen it again and again in academic studies, 90 to 95%. So what I try and do is keep you in the game, first of all, because if you're not in the game, you can't learn. And then try and grow your account meticulously. Like if you start with a $2,000 account, you shouldn't look to like turn it into $1 million in the first year. I know I turned a few thousand into a few million, but it took 4 years, and I also made a lot of that during the greatest bull market in history. Right now, we're in a bull market, but it's not 1999 anymore. So, if you have a $2,000 account, I try and teach you, okay, maybe try and turn it into $4,000 by the end of the year. Double your money. But the same process that you learn to double your money from 2 to 4,000 is a process that you can use from 4 to 8, and then 8 to 16, and then 16 to 32, 32 to 64. And, maybe you'll get better over time. So maybe you'll go from 32 to like 80. So it's the beginning of teaching people a very different way of looking at the stock market. No diversification, no CNBC bullshit. If you have a small account, you're really going to diversify in like 5 stocks. Also, 70% of stocks drop each year, even though it's a bull market. If you're a stock picker, stock picking is for suckers. That's why like there's a famous study with like a monkey outperformed a stock picker just throwing darts. Like individual stock picking, there's too many products, there's too many variables. I don't know what Google's going to do. I don't know what Google Glass is going to do. I don't know when the Apple iWatch is going to come out. I don't know if Apple is crowding the market with too many products and the new industry and the margins and the Chinese. These companies that I trade have 1 or 2 variables, 1 or 2 products. They're either scams or they're not. I do buy companies too when they have like a good product. But it's very simple, and you just need to learn the rules. That's what I'm here to teach, because I'm self-taught. I never had a mentor, which I regret hugely. I would have made so many less dumb. I mean, I lost 35% of my money trusting a family friend. Like, just stupid. I don't mind like the trusting. I don't mind the losing. But 35%, I wish someone was there just to be like, Sykes, stop, like, don't go so big. Like, use 5%. you know.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing: the if you had made money from then, and you'd be going, okay, I wish I invested more money in it. Why didn't I invest a ton more? You know what I mean? Like, there's
You
either
do,
way.
yes. Oh yeah, I could have made money. It wasn't like the worst thing. I didn't just like throw money on like a blackjack
Yeah.
table, like or a craps table. But you need to learn rules to safeguard your account and your confidence. Your confidence is huge because when I lost 35%, I mean, if you look on the internet, I apparently lost 100% because people want to like hate on me. There's a lot of promoters who hate on me because they don't want me exposing their scams, which is kind of interesting. But when you lose 35%, you lose all of your confidence, all of your credibility. And I didn't know at that point if I was ever going to make any money ever again.
Mm-hmm.
What got me back on the horse was focusing on a strategy that had always made me money. And so, you know, I was on a TV show, Wall Street Warriors. I guess I should have brought that up. It doesn't matter to me, but I guess that's like the source of my like fame. It was on TV in the U.S. 2006, 2007. Now it's in 20 countries. You can watch it on Hulu. So as my hedge fund was dropping 35%, there were reality TV show cameras in my face. Not a great combination. I was drunk in like every episode. I was just like, and so I just like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to become a reality star. And it actually kind of worked. But then I got back to my trading strategy. And it's a beautiful thing once you really refine, like you learn what not to do. You know, I had never done that. I had always made money until my family friend's company.
Mm-hmm.
And I was cocky and I was naive. And I wish everybody can go through that kind of, you know, life-altering moment without as much pain as I had. So, you know, people will make mistakes. I'll continue making mistakes, but you can guard against disaster. And that's the biggest thing with penny stocks because so many people, they get sucked into a company's story. The stock's trading at $1. How low can it really go? The promoters are saying it's the next Microsoft. It could go to 1,000. And they believe it because maybe they're desperate. You know, they need to pay for their rent or their kids' college. And it's promoters preying on suckers. And I'm trying to give those guys like a second chance.
Okay, Tim. One last thing before we wrap it up here is, like, I tried to kind of ask this before, but you kind of answered a little differently.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. If I wanted to like start now, how much? I think you mentioned $2,000 would be something that someone would put into an account. What would my expenses be if I'm like, okay, I'm doing other things, but I kind of want to get into this a little bit, start learning. How much would my initial investment be in trying to learn this and master it?
I mean, $2,000 for an account in Penny Stock Conspiracy is a one-time payment of like $49. So it's very affordable. You know, Penny Stock and Silver is where you have my 900 plus video lessons, and I keep getting more. That's $100 a month. If you want to keep getting, you know, all these videos, like tons and tons of videos in chat room and alerts and watch lists. But it's nothing. You know, if you have a $2,000 account on one trade, you can make $500, and that pays, you know, if we have an annual deal, like you can pay for the whole thing. But more importantly, it's the process. So you go to pennystockconspiracy.com, you open a brokerage account, and you just start learning. Some people I know don't even trade for like a year because they're just like, okay, I'm learning. You know,
that's smart. That could be pretty smart for some people, just to kind of do some fake trades or be like, okay, if I had traded this, then I would have made this or lost this, and learn by doing that.
Paper trading, or take small positions. You can trade with like 100 shares just to like be in the game and sense it. You know, it's some people can't take it like physically, like they're like looking at it, they're like, oh, I can't take it. You know, they're down $50. I'm up $50. You know, you need to get in the right mental state for this. But the cool thing is that the stock market, you know, it's a lifelong thing. It's not a sprint. It's not like the stock market's going to close in 5 years. You have to learn this now. A lot of my most successful students, Tim Grittani, who's up over $250,000 now in 2 years, I took him to the Maldives with me to film some videos. You know, he just graduated college, and he started with a few $1,000s. Now he's making, you know, roughly over $100,000 per year trading. And he didn't really get it for the first year. There's blog posts where he's like, you know, I was studying, but I wasn't really understanding. I love that light bulb moment when it really clicks, when it's like, you know, I explain it here, but there's nuances, there's subtleties. So the main thing is just getting started. And you can go to my YouTube channel. I have 160 videos there. TimSykes.com is a YouTube channel. You can start there if you don't want to put in any money, or if let's say you don't have $2,000 for a brokerage account. You see these things pop up again and again, and then it's just about being prepared, and that's what I want to do. I posted some live trades. I think 5 live trades where I'm making like 30, 50% in a few minutes when the pumps collapse. And you just can't get that in the rest of the stock market. I mean, Google is up, but it's up like 30% over like a year. This is very concentrated gains potentially if you're prepared.
What was your best single trade?
So back in 2004 during the Asian tsunami, I'm sorry to say, things jump up due to world events. There was a company called Taylor Devices, TAYD. The stock went from 1 to 6 due to hype. They make earthquake absorption equipment, and the message boards and chat rooms were saying this company, every city in Asia is going to order their technology to brace their buildings. And I was like, I did some research. This company is near bankruptcy. They're in the right sector, but no one's going to order their stuff. They don't even have enough money to finance it. Like they have no money. So I bet against it at 6. It went up to 8. At that time I was betting big. I bet $600,000. I bet a little smaller now, just because I'm teaching. But I was in the moment, and it went up to 8. I lost $180,000 in a day. It was a terrible day. The next day, it went up to 9, and I was like, you know what? This thing is it's ridiculous. I bet again. I made $220,000. I don't remember the exact thing. So that was my best day after my worst day. Terrible way to make like $30,000-$40,000. And then it collapsed a few days later. So back then, I hadn't gotten the Laffer curve. I hadn't gotten the timing right. But it just shows you the huge potential. 3 days later, I could have made $500,000 because it did indeed collapse. My biggest one day, like pure gain, I detail for free. Actually, I'll include this. I wrote a book called An American Hedge Fund. I don't know why I don't talk about this. Chapter 6 is about how I made over $100,000 in one day as a freshman in college, and I took my whole dorm out to dinner. And that's an exciting story. This company, Illinois Superconductor, ISCO, said on a Friday, they put out a press release saying we're going to be on, I don't remember, it was MSNBC or CNBC. They had this technology that made your cell phone range better. Like back then, cell phones, like you had terrible range problems. So superconductivity, very scientific, supposedly would freeze the towers and make the range go bigger. Anyways, they said that they were going to be on TV. The stock was already up from 4 to 17 that week. This was during the bubble. And when they said they were going to be on TV on Sunday, I bet, at the time I was worth $250,000. I bet $175,000. I bought 10,000 shares at 17. I was ballsy back then. Yeah. I have risk management techniques now. This was in 2000, when I was in my prime, stupidity / aggressiveness. And I was basically just betting whether the TV program would be positive or not. The way that the company put out the press release, the bull market, the technology, I was like, okay, they're going to pitch this as like a huge revolution, which they did. So I watched the program. I'm like jumping. I'm like, yeah, going crazy. And my roommates, I'm a freshman in college. My roommates are looking at me like I'm insane. Monday morning, the stock gaps up to 29 because I'm in at 17. And I'm trying to sell. It's taking too long. And I sold. I made like 110, 120,000. The next day it went to 40 actually because it's so much hype. Then it crashed in 1 week down to 10. But so I've constantly, so making $100,000 in one day. I'm from a middle class neighborhood. That's a lot. It's the same kind of thing. Whether I'm buying a company or shorting it, it's the same kind of hype. Sometimes the hype is real. Like there's nothing illegal about Illinois Superconductor. It was just a press, and people got too excited. But there's nothing wrong. There's nothing illegal about TAYD. It's not like there's always boiler room operators hyping stuff. It's just there's hype, and I'm trying to guess when the hype will begin to buy it and when to short it, to bet against it. On about a month ago, at the end of February, I said this company, Parametric Technology, PAMT. This was my best stock pick ever, where I said PAMT is going to be the strongest stock in March 2013. They have this cool technology where you can direct sound. So like if there's two people sitting on a couch, and one is like your grandmother and she needs the volume louder for her hearing aid, it can have a directed sound to her, like a laser sound. Very cool, very science fiction. And in a press conference, a conference call a few weeks ago, the CEO admitted that a McDonald's in Anaheim was testing this technology out. I haven't been to that Anaheim location, but everyone got all excited. And more importantly, he said, and this was in an interview in February, he said, by March 31st, we will announce 2 to 3 licensing deals. So everyone's speculating that it's going to be McDonald's or some other big company that they're working with or talking with. And so I said last month this would be the strongest stock in March. I bought it at 10. I sold it at like 10.70. I have no patience because it wasn't acting right. And I just don't trust these companies. Today, today's March 29th. It closed at around $20 a share. So it doubled over the course of the month. The CEO is full of shit. By the time the market opens in April, he will not have announced 2 to 3 licensing deals. I think they announced one with like this sketchy Chinese company.
Sure.
He issued other press releases saying, we're exploring strategic alternatives. So he got the stock up, but he telegraphed it. He said, look, he set a specific date, 2 months in advance, so people will buy on anticipation. I didn't even care if the rumors were true. It's just you don't want to bet against it because you don't know when the licensing deals are going to come out. It'll probably crash in April if he doesn't announce it. But he hyped it up perfectly. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do a financing deal with the stock. So I made $20,000. It was good. But my students, a lot of them, because I said this will be the strongest stock in March. So it wasn't like a typical trade. My trades usually last a few days. This is like a 4-week hold. And you would have doubled your money instead of taking like the 6 or 7% like me. So that was my best stock pick for students, even though I'm not that great of a trader longer term. So
I mean, you gotta be wrong sometimes. Like on my side, I release a revenue report every month, and there's months that I do okay, and there's months that I do horribly, and I even get a little bit nervous. Like I think, okay, what am I gonna do this month? If I really mess this up and I lose a lot of money, people are gonna think I'm failing. And every day you're releasing that.
Well, I mean, like with this pump GNIN, I nailed it perfectly, shorting it at 3 and getting it actually in a video. If you Google like Tim Sykes makes 30% in 30 minutes, it just crashed perfectly. Or maybe I made 5,000 in 30 minutes. I don't know. It's the same pattern when it collapses. Mm-hmm. But then it went down from $3 down to 40 cents in like 3 days. Then it came up to like $1.20, so it tripled off its lows. And I was like, this is going to come back down to its lows. And instead, for 2 weeks, it went from 120 to 220. So I was wrong on my timing, but I didn't hold. So I was betting against it at 120, and I cut my losses at like 125. So, I'm wrong quite often. But again, cutting losses quickly, and the same thing with PAMT. I was dead on right, but I cut my gains quickly. So you'll see I exit trades too quickly. To be safer. I made 20,000 on PAMT and I only lost like 5,000 on GNIN. So whether I'm right a little or wrong a little, it's about trying to make more money from being right. And that's what I teach. It's so difficult not to grow your account this way if you choose the right trades and if you're disciplined. A lot of people aren't disciplined. They can't admit when they're wrong. Like they see GNIN, they're like, oh, it's a scam. I'm just going to keep betting against it. And sometimes scams can go higher for weeks or months. So I've learned to just be conservative, and that's what I want to teach people, but I also want to teach them to make money, a lot of money. And my conservative, I guess, is still risky to a lot of people. Trading penny stocks in the first place is risky. So I don't care how conservative I am, I'm still trading a risky asset. And you have people where I have these stories where this guy Jamal started with $500. One of my students watched all my video lessons. He made over $40,000 in a year, and he's a dad, and he's a part-time physical therapist. So there are these stories of people where you can make a lot of money with just a small amount, but you have to learn the rules. You have to be meticulous. And it's not about lotto tickets. Like there are some people that are like, oh, I turned a few thousand into a few million with one pick. I didn't need to make thousands of trades. And that's called luck. And I don't try and do that. I mean, I make my money, you can see over 2,500 trades that I've done on Profitly. So I'm teaching a process, and it's not perfect. And I hype it up, sure, with my lifestyle, but it's good, and it's good for people. I make the analogy. I don't know if you saw my interview with Andrew Warner of Mixergy. It was titled like, if you're not a millionaire, you're poor. I don't know. It was something like offensive like that. I don't care, and I just like fucking around with people. But basically, he was saying, because he's not a subscriber, and he just sees my pictures of my Lamborghinis, and most people who market that way are scams. Like they're bullshit. They're like The Secret or something, even though some people love The Secret. What I do is I made the analogy, what if there's a homeless guy and you go up to him and you have a bottle of Jack Daniels in your left hand and a bottle of like green elixir with like kale and like spinach in your right hand. Which drink is he going to choose? He's going to choose the Jack Daniels because he's homeless and he's probably an alcoholic and he just wants like, a short-term fix to his troubles. But what if you give him the Jack Daniels and you put the green elixir juice in the Jack Daniels bottle? And so he drinks it and he's confused and he doesn't even know. So that's what I'm doing. I'm wrapping all of this good lessons into, my absurd luxury lifestyle. I don't even like my Lamborghini.
So pretty much you use that kind of hypey lifestyle as a way of delivering your message to people, because you've realized that that's what, unfortunately, most people are going to respond to.
I market the same way as these scams do, except what I teach is real. And this is the beautiful irony of my business, because I'm teaching people how to expose scams, but I've learned what marketing tactics work from these scams. Like if the scam companies were just advertising agencies, they would do great. They're geniuses.
Yeah.
And so I'm using their marketing, but there's real stuff behind it.
Well, Tim, really, thank you so much for coming on the show today, especially on Good Friday, where I guess the market's closed, so it doesn't really.
I'm very religious, so I'm. No, I'm Jewish, and I don't even care. But,
so if people want to reach out and find you, where can they find you at?
TimothySykes.com. If you want to laugh, go to Instagram.com/Timothy Sykes. Look at me on Instagram. You'll see like 200 absurd photos. If you want to learn for free, go to my YouTube channel. If you want a great beginner course, go to pennystockconspiracy.com. Those are my main websites.
Cool. Thanks again, Tim.
Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the interview with Tim. If you're interested in getting into penny stock trading and you want to check out what Tim's doing, you can go to mikefrommaine.com/penny, mikefrommaine.com/penny. And if you're not on the mailing list, get on it. It's at the top of mikefrommaine.com. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.